I'm saying it now. This might be one of the best weekends we've had since probably 2019 when the world changed. Everything after 29 was crap, except for this coming weekend. I'm Dan. That's Kyle. Why do I say it's going to be a great weekend? We've got two deciding games in Major League Baseball. We've got the Tigers and Mariners playing a deciding game 5. Tonight, we have Cubs and Brewers playing a deciding game 5. On Saturday night, we have NFL Sunday. We have the Jays starting the ALCS against the winners of the Mariners Tigers on Sunday. And it's Thanksgiving weekend.
It's pretty wild, but for you to talk about how exciting and great this weekend is obviously spoken as someone who was not at Costco 2 hours ago picking up pumpkin pie for his family. Not a great experience, but I think it's all uphill from here, Dan. There is a lot.
Kyle,
yes.
hey, you didn't ask what I did this morning. I went to Costco. I got
Come
gas.
On.
I went to gas. I went to the gas.
Went to get gas. Oh, that's not the same at all. I had to wait behind people that are, in some ways older than me, I would say, and maybe they don't move as quick, not quite as sprightly. But you know what I'm really looking forward to, Dan? I'm looking forward to watching a stress-free baseball game tonight that has consequences for the Blue Jays, because there is a very, very big matchup going on with Detroit sending Tarik Skubal to the mound in Seattle, and the winner of this game is heading to Toronto on Sunday.
Yeah, so you've probably been asked this a lot. I've been asked it a lot by friends. They're like, who do you want? I'm like, here's how I view it. I have an aged friend who's a massive Tigers fan. He's 67. I have an aged friend who's a Mariners fan who's 75. So I think I'd be happier if the Mariners won, because not that my buddy Jim is running out of time on this earth, but he kind of needs it a little sooner. So that is how my allegiances go to either the Tigers or the Mariners. Who do you have, Kyle?
Who do I have, or who do I want to win?
Yeah. Who do you want to win?
I want Detroit to win because of the fact that Skubal is pitching tonight, which means he would not be available 3 potential times in a 7-game series, and he would not be available in game 1 on Sunday night.
He'll be available again. My Tigers fan, I think I mentioned this last show. He'll be available against the Jays if they win for 3 and 7.
That's right. And, looking at this game tonight, Seattle has won when Tarik Skubal has started 3 different times this year, including this series. He lost to them on opening night. He lost to them, I believe it was July the 11th, and they lost the game that he started in game 2 of this series. Tarik Skubal is a perennial Cy Young threat, so, I have faith that he will come out there gunning tonight. Seattle's got home court, and they're a pretty good baseball team.
The Jays were 4-2 against the Mariners. They were 4-3 against the Tigers in the regular season. The way I view it, the Tigers are a rabid, caged animal that is unpredictable once out of the cage because of everything that's gone on with them in the regular season, blowing a 15-game lead and then winning in the wild card. Now, so they have experienced everything. They have been on the roller coaster of baseball emotions. And they're unpredictable.
That makes them dangerous to me, Dan. Those roller coaster of emotions, the way their season ended, followed by actually defeating the team that caught them in the standings down the stretch, that is a high of highs. And we talked about this nonstop, after show after after show, morning show after morning show. Momentum is huge in baseball, but there isn't really momentum in the series right now. They're going to game 5. Both teams have played well at times. Both teams have played poorly at times. But to watch a game that matters stress-free, I'm just looking forward to a Friday night on the couch.
I can't wait. Let's bring in Todd Furhman. I just know that, so Todd and I, we used to work together at Fox, and we know how we talked before about how the Blue Jays are just a kryptonite or a disaster for the American networks. Who would more people watch, Todd? I'm asking you just from the angle of eyeballs. Jays and Tigers or Jays and Mariners, because those are not hand-selected matchups, either of them, for the networks.
I think the answer is none of the above, Jay. When you look at the Jays, and the reality of it is, Toolsy, I think for our previous employer, if you and I have an axe to grind in any capacity, we should be rooting for a Jays Brewers World Series, because I'm not sure that would even pass a Seinfeld rerun stateside, while it would do massive numbers north of the border. I think that would probably be the worst case scenario for the networks, who I'm sure are yearning for a Dodgers-Cubs NLCS. But I think the American League will kind of serve as the appetizer. But we can't discount the Jays, especially at the expense of my Yankees. They went out there, made contact, and a hat tip to Mr. Varland for cobbling together enough outs in a pivotal Game 4 instead of letting the Yankees carry that momentum from the Game 3 comeback and making it a little bit squirrelier to try and force a Game 5 at Rogers Center.
If it was Jays Brewers, Fox would not, they would create a new FS1 channel,
FS9
17.
Hey, look, I'm sure they could get another Barstool show to fill the airways for those extremely pricey ad sales that probably would plummet if we were talking about a Jays Brewers World Series.
Yeah.
Todd, you're a professional handicapper. Who should the Jays want to face in the ALCS?
Honestly, I think you raised an excellent point. I mean, playing the Tigers is a little bit scary because this team is now rolling the dice with a bit of house money, but they won't have the luxury of going to Tariq Skubal early on in the series. Now, if it did go 7, you probably could see him in a Game 3 or Game 4. They'd run him back out there for Game 7 as well. This Mariners staff was supposed to be the strength all season long, but if Brian Woo's not available for them, that is a gaping hole that Seattle's going to have to fill. But the way Toronto's playing right now, with their ability to make contact, go deep into counts, I don't think they should fear either of these opponents. And the home field advantage that's been created in Toronto for this team all year, and what we saw in Games 1 and Game 2 against the Yankees, I think the Jays have to like their prospects regardless of who gets out of Game 5 between the Mariners and Tigers tonight.
Being called a professional handicapper make it sounds like you go and injure people that don't pay their debts.
Hey, you know me, Jeff Galooly. He's got me on speed dial right now, and I'm probably dating myself. But who knows? Back in the day, as a professional handicapper, maybe that's what they referred to if you came from Tanya Harding's camp.
Why?
All of the thrills and none of the parking spaces, but that's okay. What about in the NLCS? Just quickly. We've got another Game 5 going tomorrow night there. Who has the advantage going into that one Saturday night?
I think the Cubs do, going on the road. I think you can play a little bit more loose and free, knowing how difficult it's been for teams to come back in a 2-0 series deficit in this best-of-5 format. I know that Milwaukee Brewers fans are going to relish the opportunity to get away from Wrigley, but it wouldn't shock me at all if Cub fans traveled up I-94 and created a home field advantage. I mean, look, 90 miles between the two stadiums. I grew up in the Chicago suburbs, but it was easier for me to get to Milwaukee on a weeknight for a ball game than it would have been to get down to Wrigley. I think this Cubs team just feels like they have something special going on, and they're going to find a way to punch their ticket to the NLCS and take on the Dodgers in what should be, at least on paper, a heavyweight matchup between two proud media markets, ones with very different histories, though, especially of late in terms of postseason success.
The NFL's playing another game in London. I don't get these. Tell me, though, from a betting standpoint, because if it's a standalone game at a very unique time, does a lot of money get placed on those games?
It definitely jumpstarts the day from a risk management standpoint, because if you're looking at the way Thursday Night Football unfolded, you probably had a lot of money line parlays already get blown up. People thought they could jumpstart their weekend with a quote-unquote free leg on the Philadelphia Eagles as a touchdown favorite against the Giants. No doubt had that tied into the Denver Broncos and, working on a couple of games with some of the big favorites a little bit later in the day. But now that all of those get cleaned out, there is no doubt in my mind that people are going to think Denver is the way that they can jumpstart their weekend. And who could argue against a Jets team that looks ill-equipped to do much of anything? The first team, guys, to go through 5 games of the season and not force a single turnover since 1933. And kudos to Aaron Glenn, a defensive-minded head coach whose defense has now surrendered 27 points or more through the first 5 games of the season, as Jets fans are just hoping they can end the season early like they oftentimes do at MetLife Stadium.
Todd, let's go ahead and fast forward for a moment to the Monday night game featuring the Buffalo Bills at home once again, getting an Atlanta Falcons team. They've been a little bit all over the map this year, haven't they? What can we expect in Buffalo coming off their first loss of the season to a New England team that's feisty and maybe caught them a little off guard?
Yeah, credit to Patriots. They went out there. They had a great game plan. The one thing we've seen from New England, this is a team that stops the run. They forced the Bills a little bit out of their comfort zone, and the passing game never looked to really get in sync for Josh Allen and company. Mike Vrabel has been doing this at his stops along the way. I mean, even as head coach of the Titans, you just kind of bet them blindly on the money line as dogs of 4 points or more. He actually has a winning straight up record in those particular spots. But here the Bills are, a little bit of extra time to prepare against a well-rested Falcons side. You know, for me, I think the Falcons are live underdogs, though. This is an Atlanta team that should potentially have the services of their top cover corner, A.J. Terrell, back. He missed some time dealing with a hamstring injury. I like some of the balance that we have seen from the Falcons, getting Bijan Robinson involved. Drake London has emerged as a true number one threat. And maybe more importantly for Atlanta, they're starting to get some of the production that they anticipated when they used the top 5 draft pick on Kyle Pitts a few years ago. I know Michael Penix's performances haven't exactly been great so far. Uneven would probably be the best adjective I'd use to describe him. But I think Atlanta is extremely live as a dog against the Bills team, who's still trying to figure things out. And despite their gaudy record to date, I have some real reservations about the Bills and if they're going to be able to shore up the defense when the games really start to matter more in December and through January.
Hey, Furzy, we're 5 games in, so we know a bit more about these teams. Of these one-loss teams, give me the one that you think is actually legit. You ready?
Fire away.
Niners, they're 4-1. Bucks are 4-1. We already know about the Lions. We know about the Bills. Steelers 3-1 and Colts 4-1. So Steelers, Colts, Bucks, and Niners. Of those teams, which one are you like, yeah, they're legit?
So the one that's not legit, in my opinion, is the Pittsburgh Steelers. I think they are smoke and mirrors like we see every year from a Mike Tomlin-led team. And while the division appears to be much more favorable now, given the mash unit that's become of the Baltimore Ravens, I'm not buying the Steelers. But the first 2 teams that you mentioned, Toolsy, the teams that'll actually be playing on Sunday in San Francisco and Tampa, they have definitely caught my attention. Not because I didn't believe in these 2 teams coming into the year, but the fact they've been able to stack wins despite not having their full complement of weapons. I mean, we look at the 49ers. We know Nick Bosa's lost for the season with the torn ACL. But wide receiver-wise, they haven't had Juwan Jennings and Ricky Pearsall, George Kittle all out there at the same time with Christian McCaffrey. Yet they're still winning football games even without starting quarterback Mac Jones, or without Brock Purdy and Mac Jones taking the mantle. But on the flip side for the Bucs, I mean, it looks like Chris Godwin is going to miss this weekend. We'll see when Mike Evans can come back. They've had cluster injuries in the secondary. And dare I say, guys, that Baker Mayfield making a legitimate case to throw his hat in the ring for MVP consideration. I think both of those teams have a legitimate shot to be the top overall seed in the NFC. And it places much more importance on the game Sunday than we would have projected coming into this matchup before we saw the schedule was released.
Your silence on the Colts speaks volumes.
Look, here's the thing about the Colts. I won't discount them either because I think the AFC is much more of a muddled mess when you try and figure out the pecking order there. I just can't necessarily buy into the Daniel Jones experience continuing to perform at this high level. I mean, they're massive favorites this weekend, probably going to get a backup quarterback in Jacoby Brissett. But at the same time, it's that team playing on Sunday Night Football that I still feel has an inside track in the AFC. Kansas City's going to get healthier. They're not going to commit the costly turnovers that we saw. And look, Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes are just getting that regression monster off their back, losing 1-score games early so they can win them late. I still think it's Kansas City, honestly, in the AFC and everybody else.
Does that include Kansas City Sunday night, Todd? Because they have a Detroit Lions team that's been playing very well, and they are a 2.5-point favorite on Bet Rivers right now.
Yeah, I do like Kansas City. I'd probably look to bet them on the money line in this particular spot, but I have no problem if folks want to lay the 2.5, especially knowing this is one of the largest totals on the board. Spoiler alert, Toolsy, I did bet this game over the total when it opened at 50.5. I am not rubber stamping, though, going over the total where it sits right now at 53. But Detroit comes into this game banged up in their defensive backfield. I mean, DJ Reed, we know, is going to miss some time. Terry Arnold getting second opinions. And while Detroit has been phenomenal to start this season, I think this is a game where Kansas City's got to play with a level of desperation. Detroit, though, look, I mean, fade them at your own peril. I mean, going back a handful of years over a 70-plus game sample size, I mean, this is a team right now that is lining people's wallets to the tune of around a 71% success rate from an against the spread standpoint. So all you have to do is wake up Sunday morning, bet the Lions blindly, and you've been able to cash tickets at a pretty high rate. Not something that I would endorse or advise. And as you can tell, I'll fade that streak, and I'll back the Chiefs on Sunday Night Football laying that short number.
The 3 highest totals are the last 3 games of the weekend. Lions and Chiefs, 52.5. Bills and Falcons.
It's plenty of opportunities for you to get out of the hole if need be. I mean,
49.5, and then Commanders and
rolling it
Bears
over.
50.5.
Yeah, I don't love the total on the Commanders-Bears game because I can see a scenario where those two teams commit to running the football a little bit more. Bills-Falcons, I'm kind of right in line with market on that total. But like I said, I think this Chiefs-Lions total, especially where it opened at 50.5, was a touch short. I'm curious to actually see how high it gets on Sunday Night Football. I know Sunday Night Football historically has been where overs go to die, but it just feels like both of these offenses have a tremendous path to success. You'll just have to hope that they're scoring touchdowns instead of kicking field goals with a number this big.
Todd, quickly looking ahead to the 19th when the Miami Dolphins play in Cleveland against the Browns. I'm totally kidding. Nobody cares about that whatsoever. Let's quickly transition out of the NFL and get some thoughts on the Toronto Maple Leafs' second game of the season. They have Detroit Sunday night. Saturday night, apologize.
Yeah, nice performance in the game against the Canadiens to open things up. A couple of empty netters, help with scoreboard cosmetics. And I think the big thing that all of us are going to be watching with the Leafs this season is how that top line performs and where the Leafs go to replace the 100 points worth of production that they don't have in the form of Mitch Marner, who's now donning a Golden Knight sweater. So if you can get Matthew Nyes to continue to take his game to the next level, we know what William Nylander and Austin Matthews are capable of contributing. And I think maybe most importantly for the Leafs is the overall health of Anthony Stolarz in net. Look, he got the extension. The Leafs clearly believe in him. In my opinion, this is a team that's going to take on a lot more of the identity of their head coach in Craig Berube. So if we see them play a little bit more structured on the defensive side, it's something that I think can pay dividends the deeper we get into the season. And of course, potentially yield a little bit more fruit in the postseason where you can't tend to outscore some of your defensive shortcomings.
Todd, like I said off the top, this weekend ranks pretty high, especially here in Canada, because we celebrate Thanksgiving when it should be celebrated at harvest time.
I mean, look, I feel like I should be getting CFL picks for you guys.
With
some of the,
we don't even talk about that.
with some of the Thanksgiving weekend classics. But to kind of put a bow on your topics at the top, guys, the best spot probably to get pumpkin pie around Canadian Thanksgiving, you have to come into American Costco because they're not flying off the shelves before Halloween.
That's right. Thanks, buddy.
Always a pleasure, boys. Enjoy the sports, and a happy Thanksgiving to all you guys as well.
Oh, thanks, friend. Yeah, so Americans, when we worked down there, they were always like, why are you guys celebrating so early? I'm like, it's actually the perfect time to celebrate Thanksgiving. The American Thanksgiving, way too close to Christmas.
And it's a crapshoot weather-wise. We've got the hiking weather. The trees are at that perfect level of seasoning right now. The thing we lack on them is that Thursday football slate. But we got the Jays. We got the Jays in the ALCS both Sunday and Monday, depending on which day you celebrate. You can't beat that.
That's the other thing, Kyle. I'm glad you mentioned that. In America, it's one day. You have your Thanksgiving on the Thursday. In Canada, you can have your turkey dinner on Saturday, Sunday, or Monday.
Or all three if you're smart.
Well, yeah. Actually, we'll be having two. We'll be having one on Sunday. We'll be having one on Monday. So it's like we have it figured out. They go much bigger in the States with their American Thanksgiving on the Thursday, but we kind of do it more well-planned and give the dealer more of a choice instead of you're doing it this day and that day only.
Yeah, we get a little bit of actual relaxation in our weekend, and they start theirs 100 miles an hour.
Oh, chaos.
It's chaos. And like the weather's a crapshoot depending on where you are. You can pretty much count on October 12th, October 13th in Canada. You're getting really nice weather no matter where you are.
Yeah, it's going to be fantastic. The biggest question will, do they have the dome open? Because I believe if they took a poll number among the fans, hey, it's going to be like 10 degrees. People would say, yeah, I can sit in that. No problem. But I think they have a temperature threshold in which they close it at.
Well, right now we are looking at a high on Sunday and Monday of about 17, 16 degrees for each. That's pretty close. A very small amount of precipitation being called for Monday, but it's too far out to really say that for sure. So there is a chance that lid will be open, but who really knows? We don't get to make those decisions, but I think we both sit in the same spot on that one.
Producer Tim, do you know, do they have to close the roof at a certain temperature? I just asked ChatGPT here real quick.
I don't know if they have like a set temperature, but usually if it's going to be,
it says it's usually close when it drops below 10.
Yeah.
It's not a strict rule though, it says.
And we're talking a sold out crowd with high energy. That matters for the comfort
Also,
of the patrons.
the game is on. Are you talking about Monday's game? Yeah, it's still going to be later in the day, right? It's going to be like 4 or 5.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's going to be a little cooler. It's not.
The
gonna
sun
be like,
will
if
be
it was-
below the roof
If it was a
line.
1 o'clock start, then
Yeah. It's interesting to note, though, like it is a decision that needs to be made.
I don't even know who makes that call. Anyway, we'll figure it out. Kyle, happy Thanksgiving, buddy. I guess we'll see you back here after the
Sunday.
Jays game on Sunday.
You will. They will. Everyone will. Can't wait.
See ya.